previous speakers, and Philadelphia. Thank you for having me tonight. Well, first, let me report the obvious, because as Vice President Biden would say, it's a big effing deal. Jill Stein and Cheri Honkala are on the Pennsylvania ballot. This is the first time that we have put statewide candidates on the Pennsylvania ballot since 2004. So this is huge, and I think that is nothing but testament to the outstanding candidates that we have. But even more so than that, I want to thank the people in Pennsylvania where this all started, and that is our core true believers. Because despite the knocks, despite the hits that we have taken as a party, there's a group of individuals that remain steadfast. Despite what an agonizing and hopeless process petitioning for a third-party candidate is in Pennsylvania, and what we go through after months of petitioning in Pennsylvania, it's hard to motivate people to give up so much time out of their lives. But we knew after our contested primary that we would have a candidate that we wanted on our ballot. And there were so many people who stood up and kept us going throughout the spring and the early part of this summer. Now, we get to the early part of the summer and we are still way off of the mark. And we only have like 3.5 weeks to go before the deadline. And literally, we need, thousands and thousands of signatures. And man, oh man, did Cheri Honkala, Jill Stein, Hillary Cain, the Green Party of Pennsylvania come through. And it was amazing how many regular people, the common phrase is the little people. These aren't little people. These are huge individuals of character who deserve a great round of applause, especially for the incredible women. We are here because of the collective will of people who said we will not take no for an answer, we will not be denied, and the resources we needed to pull this off came from the Stein campaign, who accomplished something else historic, and that is the first Green Party candidate to qualify for federal matching funds since the Green Party has been recognized as a national party. So, and I point that out because that is our building point. This is a year where we can make real history. I understand that as co-opted as the electoral process is in the United States, we may not see President Stein at the end of this election. However, we can be on the road to a President Stein or a Green Party president or a Green Party delegation in the Congress of the United States. It is not that unachievable. And let me give you some of that. First and foremost, we must not lose or betray the energy of all of those people who put us on the ballot. We would like to see them involved and take an active part in their own destiny. Secondly, between now and October 9th, unregistered voters can be registered to vote, those that are going to come out and vote for our candidates. We could do this. There's a strong Occupy movement in Philadelphia. And quite frankly, I love the organization, I love the steadfastness of Occupy, but until you realize that we've got to organize and actually get on the hands of the machinery to change things, it's just a pajama party in the park. We want more. We want more than that. We want that organization to occupy the ballot. And if we get 5%, 10%, or better out of Pennsylvania, we will send a strong message to a number of folks in Washington. We are not playing Western legal politics. We will not control again. And you are only betraying yourself, your future, your children, if you play the lesser evil game. I'm saying don't play it anymore. And you know, the greatest social movements in the world were not started by waves of people. They were started by small groups. And against seemingly impossible odds, as those small groups start to build a groundswell, social change can come fast and furious. Little country like Iceland did it. Take a look at what they did. Their Occupy movement organized. They took enough members in their parliament that they threw out the central banks, and there are no foreclosures in Iceland. As a matter of fact, everybody that was holding a bank mortgage had that mortgage forgiven and were able to keep their houses. They have jobs in Iceland now. Imagine if a little piece of volcanic rock in the North Atlantic can do that, what the organizational and economic power of the people of the United States can accomplish. That we are at a decided disadvantage because of all of the fat money that the old parties continue to collect from the political interests. I say no, we have the real power because we have the people. And we need to get the people to stop playing lesser evil politics and come along on an agenda of real progress, of real truth, of real hope. I just want to touch on a few of our issues because it's important and people need to understand this. I don't know if anyone noticed, but it's hard for Americans to maintain their rights. We've become a police state. We have become a corporate state. We have become a state that is at constant war. When the drug war was launched in the early 1970s in the Richard Nixon administration, there were less than 250,000 Americans in jail, 250,000. By the time Bill Clinton won his election at the end of 1992, there were 1 million people in jail. By the time Bill Clinton left office, there were 2 million Americans in jail. There's about 2.5 million Americans currently incarcerated right now. That's a little more than 25% of all of the world's incarcerated in a country that has less than 5% of the world's population. There is nothing free about that, no matter how many times they sing God Bless America at a baseball game, or the NFL glorifies the United States being at constant war with, for the resources of the world. It's vile, it's disgusting, and it must change. When Bill Clinton left office, there were 5,000 American prisoners who were held in privately owned corporate prisons. Today, there are more than half a million Americans in corporate-owned prisons. Corporations are coming in and running prison systems for counties. Happens right here in Pennsylvania. The one next door to where I live, Lackawanna County, is one that has it. I come from Luzerne County, where judges were jailing juveniles for kickbacks from a private prison builder and operator. It's absolutely disgusting. The state of Tennessee has just entered into a contract with a private prison company where they guaranteed a 90% occupancy rate over the 20 years of the contract. Why is no one talking about this? Why isn't it? that it's wrong for George W. Bush to pass a Patriot Act, which it is, but he passed a Patriot Act that could not detain Americans indefinitely without our right to counsel and other protections we are supposed to have. So how did we get that? From a Democratic Senate and a Democratic President. An administration who, after federal courts, and God knows the federal courts are less than liberal, threw out the provisions of indefinite detention for us. The administration not only promptly appealed that, but also got a judge to give them that power in the interim until the appeal is heard. Why are not Democratic rank-and-file members as mad about this as they would be if George W. Bush did it? Why is it that in 3.5 years of President Obama, the federal government has closed more medical cannabis, 3 times as many medical cannabis operations as George W. Bush did in 8 years? Why aren't rank-and-file Democrats upset about this? Why is it that rank-and-file Democrats oppose war in Iraq and Afghanistan when George Bush is sending us, but they allow the perpetuation of those wars under a Democratic president and a further bold step of American imperialism onto the African continent through Libya? It's unconscionable. You know, it's not just that we have a difference of opinion. These are dangerous and serious times in which the people must use their collective power to take the reins of government back. And I say there is a political solution, because I say the state legislatures, the governor's mansions, the Congress, the presidency, the district attorney, and attorney general's offices in this country are powerful places. We start taking them, we could dismantle the criminals, and I say let's do that. Before I introduce Cheri Honkala, our main attraction tonight, and definitely someone that I have no problem referring to as Philadelphia's finest, I want to touch on a little bit of what Walter was talking about with single-payer healthcare. All of these costs that Walter pointed out, as he said, it's not for anything that will help us medically. It's all for bureaucracy that's designed to find how many of the paying customers they can deny insurance, because what we hold sacred in this country is the right to profit over the people's right to have access to their medical system, and that's disgusting. And we aren't going to get help anytime soon from Washington, because Washington talks a good game. God bless him, Representative John Conyers introduces House Bill 676 in every session. Get some Democratic sponsors, more of them when there's a Republican president than when there's a Democratic president, by the way. But when it's all said and done, Senator Conyers isn't afraid to take special interest money. He isn't afraid to go along with the president as he inflicts Romney care on the whole country. And I think the same could be said for Dennis Kucinich and many others on the Democratic side. So I caution all of you, despite the good game that these individuals talk, we must challenge them to get out of those corrupted parties, go independent, or come to a party like the Green Party where they don't have that baggage, where we can have the candidates we need, and we can seriously move forward with a real agenda. Enough is enough. And for those who are conservative, let me be the first to rain on St. Ron Paul, too, because they do the same thing. So you have, we'll pick on Dennis tonight. You have Dennis on one side for the Democrats, you have Ron Paul on the other. Oh, they're talking a great game to the base, but when it's all said and done, they're co-opting people out of the Green Party. Come stand with Dennis in the Democratic Party. Co-opting libertarians and other conservatives out of their independent parties into the Republican Party on the false hope that that is somehow going to get things done. It is not. We need a new way. And many a great journey can be undertaken if you have the courage to take the first steps. Who has the courage to take the first steps and watch these little baby steps turn into a full sprint? I believe the Green Party is the vehicle that can deliver us on many of the issues that we need. And I hope to get to come back to Philadelphia this campaign season and talk more about those issues, because I serve us on the